Deckert, the horticulture agent here in Burleigh County, joined in the Radio Access studio by my co-host Tom Kalb, NDSU Extension horticulturist. How's it going?
Everything's good, Kelsey.
April next week. Where did March go?
Wow. Here comes spring. Ready or not, here it comes.
Well, we are in spring.
Oh, yeah.
It's came, right?
Yeah,
Last week?
Officially?
Officially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could use a little more sunshine, personally.
Really?
Last couple days been a little gloomy, but, no snow. Could use moisture, but...
Yeah. I heard we're going to have a drought this summer.
I believe it. I didn't hear that,
Our
but I
summer
believe
forecast is, he said,
Dry.
47% chance of a drought.
It's pretty high.
Yep. But they don't know anything, so let's just, they don't know anything after, 10 days in advance, so.
That's true, too.
So who knows? But nothing I can do about that.
No.
Except for be knowledgeable and be prepared, be a smart gardener. That's why I'm on Dakota Growing right now, to learn all I can. So what are we going to talk about today?
What do you got?
I got a fascinating story. Should I just get started?
Yeah, let's jump
We're
in.
going to talk about growing cucumbers in North Dakota. I really want to help everybody have a bumper crop this year, so we'll be featuring all kinds of vegetables this spring. What do you think about cucumbers?
Love them.
Do you really?
Yeah. They're great. I love to have them, cut them up in salads. Of course, are you even a North Dakota person if you don't pickle,
Wow.
I don't personally
It's
pickle,
part of our
but
heritage? Is that
yeah,
what
I
you're
feel
trying
like
to
it
say?
is.
Really?
Yeah.
That's quite interesting.
You do that over in Minnesota? Come on, you guys have to be
Listen.
big picklers.
Gotta know my life. My life. What did my parents do? They had 11 kids.
They had to feed y'all.
They said they got to keep us out of trouble in summer. So how we keep these kids out of trouble? Well, let's go buy a farm. And so then what do we do? Well, what are we going to grow on the farm? Well, how about let's go 3 acres of pickling cucumbers. 3 acres.
Your mom was busy in the fall.
You can only pick a little bit. No, this was we were like the kings of the cucumber court at the Minneapolis Farmers Market.
That was your niche, huh?
Yep.
Your specialty?
We were like the #1 cucumber sales group in Minneapolis.
So
3 acres.
You know the best cucumbers for everybody.
Oh, man. That is like torture, that was.
I believe it.
Okay, here's a hoe. That was our present, for Christmas. Here's a hoe. And good luck hoeing weeds. Then finally, the harvest comes. But then we're picking. You're picking. It's just like milking cows. You got to pick every day.
That's right.
So, okay, we're going to pick half the patch today. We'll pick half the patch tomorrow. We'll just keep rotating.
On repeats, right?
Man, that was amazing. And it was I was crouched over my whole summer, going through vines, opening up the vines. Where's those cucumbers? Can't miss one, And, my hands got so much movement that, same with everybody in my family, our hands changed. Do you know what happened? They grew. Like when you go to church and you go to communion. Well, it is in a Catholic church where I was raised, because we had 11 kids, so that makes sense, right?
Right.
And so, you raise your hand up, to get communion. And the priest knew that as soon as it was our family in the line, they said, wow, these hands are so big. He noticed our hands were different than everybody else in the parish. And it was because they were wider than everybody else. And I told him that's because we picked pickles.
Not genetics.
It was not genetics. He said in the old days when he used to take the communion on the tongue, he said sometimes he could notice a family trait. Some families had big tongues, some had little tongues. But he said, our family, we had the whitest hands he ever saw. And that's from picking pickles. That's my fun story.
So because of that, do you not grow cucumbers?
Yeah. Yes.
You got tired out.
I really hate pickling cucumbers. That is true.
I figured.
And I grow slicing cucumbers.
Do you like pickles, though? You just don't pickle them, but you like them?
My mom's bread and butter pickles were great. But it's not my wife doesn't really go for pickles that much. So to be honest, we just don't.
Okay.
Well, it's because I'm not North Dakotan like you are.
Okay, but
See, you're North.
Minnesota, North Dakota, we're all the same almost.
North Dakota the same as Minnesota? You
I
don't
mean,
know
you got
anything.
a lot of type
Are
of
you think
people.
the people out here in the West, North Dakota, are the same?
No,
as the
not
Minnesotans?
that.
Can you get real?
But, you know,
Come on.
people say you
Come
got
on.
like the same accent.
We're freedom-loving people, huh?
That is true. You
That's
guys
why
are.
I'm here.
Yeah.
No way am I going back to Minnesota. Sorry, Minnesota. You guys went nuts. Okay. But you know what? Your comment is very interesting about how you think it's part of our heritage.
I do. Yeah.
So here we go.
A little history, huh?
So, who brought cucumbers to North Dakota? The European settlers, the homesteaders. They brought it, but they brought all kinds of vegetables with them. And like the Germans, they brought their cabbage and their sauerkraut.
Oh, yeah.
But some of our settlers just did not appreciate that sauerkraut. This Icelandic settler says, "I did not come to America to eat grass," you know. But cucumbers. Everybody loved cucumbers. Didn't matter what culture you're
Yeah.
from. And they did a survey about 100 years ago at the North Dakota State Hort Society, and they found the #1 vegetable in gardens in North Dakota. There you
It's
go.
cucumbers,
There
yep.
you go. So you were so right. It's just part of our heritage. So it was our heritage 100 years ago, and it's very popular today. So I'm going to talk about how we can be successful in growing cucumbers today. I start with the varieties. Whenever I look for a variety, I want it to be early, I want it to taste great, and I want it to resist diseases, and that includes powdery mildew for cucumbers. I want my cucumber varieties to be productive and grow well in North Dakota. So you can go to a garden center, and maybe there'll be like 5 varieties, maybe up to 10. But a lot of those varieties are old-fashioned varieties that are not hybrid, don't resist diseases very well. So ideally, you know, because since you're watching a garden show, I talk to the viewer or the listener out there in the great world of North Dakota. Since you're an avid gardener, you want to take advantage of the best possible seeds. And for that, you got to go to seed catalogs. Because instead of getting 5 or 10 selections and some old varieties, you can get the most modern varieties. You can get seed catalogs that have 50 cucumber varieties to choose from, 50 in one catalog. And the #1 catalog, I really strongly encourage everybody to get, and it doesn't matter if you want to buy seeds from them or not. Buy this catalog for the information it has. That's Johnny's Selected Seeds. And here's their first page of their cucumber section, and I highlighted there for every vegetable, they have a description of how to grow it successfully. So for Johnny's, you talk about here's how to grow the transplants, here's how to, if you want to sow the seed directly in the garden, here's the insects to worry about, here's the diseases to worry about, here's how you harvest, here's how you store it. So get this seed catalog. It's full of great information. Also, get to know the North Dakota Home Garden Variety Trials. Every year, I work with hundreds of gardeners, and we test all kinds of cucumbers to try to find the best ones for our state. And last year, I got results from 365 families testing all kinds of cucumbers and other vegetables. Get to know the North Dakota Home Garden Variety Trials. You can Google that. And from that information, I got a listing at our website that has a list of all the recommended varieties. So that's, our website is ndsu.ag/home garden trials. Okay, ndsu.ag/home garden trials. Okay, and you see there's our listing of the cucumber ones that we recommend, but let's go into more detail right now. First of all, for the standard varieties, I think some of what I look for are varieties that are productive, varieties that resist diseases. That's really the most, and taste great. So Bristol, General Lee, and Raider are really strong performers. General Lee is sometimes now called the General.
Ooh.
Because, you know, how America had gone a little bit woke there for a while. And General Lee was a man of the Confederacy. So
Yeah.
some seed catalogs refuse to call that variety General
That's
Lee.
right.
So they call it the General. Okay, but it's the best tasting of the standard cukes. Okay, but really, once you try a burpless seed, a burpless variety, you probably won't go back to those standard ones. Burpless varieties are early, resist diseases, and outstanding quality, just tremendous quality, these long cucumbers. They're almost seedless, and it's smooth skin, thin skin, and have no bitterness at all. Try the burpless cucumbers. You'll really be delighted. I also encourage you to try snack cucumbers, and this variety is called Green Light. Snack cucumbers, they grow about 4 to 6 inches, and you just eat them just like an apple. You don't have to prepare them at all. You just eat them skin and all. They're crunchy, and Green Light is a great variety. It's very early. 50 days you're going to be harvesting. And of course, as you say, pickles are part of the heritage here in North Dakota. The best variety in our trials is called homemade pickles. That's the best variety. It's very productive, resists diseases, and has blunt-shaped, crisp fruits. Supermax is another good one. Okay, you can sow your seed outdoors, but you got to wait until the temperatures warm up. Cucumbers cannot take frost. Okay, so we're going to wait till mid, or even I wait till the last week of May to sow mine. And I put my seeds about 6 inches apart, and I'll thin them so the plants are about 12 inches apart down the row. You can start your seeds indoors, but the thing about cucumbers, you don't start them too early.
Right.
So I'm going to put my cucumbers out in the garden in late May. I'm going to sow the seed indoors only 3 weeks before that. Okay, so early May is when I'm sowing my seeds. Cucumbers do not take well to transplanting. They're very sensitive. Their root systems are very sensitive, so I'm going to really handle them with care. I'm going to grow them in a peat pot or a 2-inch plastic cell, put 2 seeds in a cell, and then I'll thin to the strongest one, and then I'll space the plants again 12 inches apart. So we talked about starting seeds in previous episodes. Use a seed starter or a potting soil mix. Do not use garden soil. That's full of disease. Give the seeds some warm temps in the beginning, like temps in the 70s are best, so they germinate quickly. Give them lots of light. I don't care about the quality, the grow lights. I care about the quantity. I want to just flood the plants with light so they don't get leggy and don't overwater. So here's some cucumber seedlings. These were grown in those, have you ever grown a peat pellet? You know what I'm
I've
talking
heard of
about?
them. I've
The
not.
Jiffy pellets.
Yeah.
They're so fun. They're
They
like,
expand.
that's right. It's
Yeah.
like a little wafer. Then you give it water, and it blows up. It's bloop. And so this is a bloop. That's what this example is right here. And you see how healthy and green they are. There's about, it looks like 2 seedlings in a lot of these. And so what I would do is I would get a scissors, and I would just trim off one out of, so there's only one per pot, okay? And don't pull it out, because you'll disturb the plant you keep. Just cut it out. Just make a quick slice right near the soil surface. So this is a successful gardener. I see this as a disaster cucumber grower. You see how the plants are so leggy and they're reaching. I bet there's a window on the right-hand side. The plants are stretching, and it's so wet, the soil. This is going to be dead in a week. Okay? Don't do that. Give them lots of light. Okay, I'm going to plant my cucumbers in a sunny location, 8 hours of direct sun. And they can grow in raised beds too. Cucumbers like raised beds because they're generally warmer. Advantages of raised beds is that they're very aesthetic and they're easy on the back. So when I'm picking my cucumbers, I don't have to reach down so low.
Not crouching over like the younger
I'm
days.
not crouching over. Now I got like a walking cane just about, so I can barely.
Okay.
So, hey man, why are you laughing, man? That's where I'm heading. Where's my shillelagh, huh?
It's
The soil doesn't get compacted in a raised bed. You get great drainage, and it warms up quickly. That really makes a huge difference for the cukes. I'm a big fan of pressure-treated lumber. The old pressure-treated lumber days of my childhood had arsenic in it, But today's pressure treated lumber is called ACQ, or alkaline copper quaternary. It has no toxic materials. So they threw out the arsenic and they just juiced it up with more copper. So I'm a big fan of pressure treated lumber. But for cucumbers, on a raised bed, they can take up a lot of the raised bed. So you may want to think about going vertical and providing a trellis, like you see here in the photo with it's like some chicken wire trellis going up, or here a cattle panel trellis. These cukes, they'll just crawl right up that, and the fruits that grow then will be drooping down. They'll be
easy to pick
and perfectly straight. They won't curve at all. It'll just be beautiful. Okay, here's a photo that I showed. This actually, it's a raised bed. This one with the plastic on it. It's raised, but it doesn't have the wooden supports. But the big thing I'm showing here is mulching. Okay, this is clear plastic mulch, can generate a lot of heat. And clear plastic mulch, you see the cucumber growing under the mulch is already blooming. It's like 2 weeks ahead of schedule of the plant next to it that doesn't have any mulch. So again, cucumbers like the heat. Clear plastic mulch will generate the most heat. The one drawback with clear plastic mulch is if you got a lot of weed seeds in your garden, you're going to encourage them to germinate. So in those cases, I generally use black plastic mulch because the weed seeds can't grow underneath black plastic. So plastic mulching can really help. Another way that we can generate heat is planting in low tunnels. These are these hoops, and then we put a floating row cover over it. That can generate a lot of heat in the spring, get our plants off to a strong start. And then I take the tunnels off as soon as I start seeing the flowers, because I've got to get let the honeybees do their thing. So I had some fruits. So, speaking of the flowers, got to get to know the cucumbers have male and female flowers. Okay, female flowers have a baby cucumber attached. The male flowers do not have a fruit attached. Okay, they're so easy to tell. Males cannot produce fruits; they just produce pollen that the bees move to the female flower. So sometimes people will say, "Wow, I just got so many flowers, but I don't have any fruits." Well, you got to look at the flowers. Maybe you just have a bunch of male flowers. And that can be caused by, usually temperature extremes can have short-term deficiencies of female flowers on the vine. Sometimes you just have to be patient, but check to see if it's female versus male flower. There's always many more male flowers than female flowers, so just be a little bit patient there. And a female flower can only be receptive for 1 day. Okay, so you got to have a lot of honeybee activity going on there. If you don't, then you'll get the fruits. Well, if you don't get a lot of activity, a lot of good pollination, you can have these deformed fruit shapes, like these curves and these knobby ones. So that's just a sign that you had poor pollination that day. The biggest disease of cucumbers and squash is powdery mildew. That's that white powder that gets on the older leaves, and that can just engulf the plants. So how do we stop that? You pick a variety that resists powdery mildew. You pick a modern variety that resists powdery mildew. Don't have to worry about it.
Can you still eat the fruit? That's what I always get asked.
If it's got powdery mildew on it? Yeah. Well, of course, like if the fruit's covered with fungus,
yeah,
you're
not going to eat that.
But if you
long
just
as it
got a
looks
little bit,
healthy and stuff.
Same with winter squash, that often gets powdery mildew.
Yeah.
But it's okay. The fruits themselves are okay. Just use your common sense. Like if it's mushy or if it's discolored, if it's misshapen, just
there's more on the vine to look for.
Yeah, just pick it off. Powdery mildew is often caused by overhead watering because powdery mildew and other diseases love humidity. And so I've talked this story before about here are these flowers that would get overhead irrigation. These flowers they hate this gardener because this gardener is getting their leaves wet and he's going to bring diseases to this planting. So, don't do that. Don't keep the leaves dry when you water. It's very important to keep the leaves dry. Here's a cucumber leaf that's all wet. If this gets at night, it's going to be so humid diseases are going to start getting active. So when you water cucumbers, avoid overhead irrigation. Irrigate in the morning. That way, I mean, sometimes you just can't help getting the leaves wet. But if you water in the morning, then the leaves have a chance to dry off during the day. And don't water every day. It's better to water deeply, not frequently. The roots grow where the water is. If you water deep, roots grow deep. So it's better to water once or twice a week and water deeply. Keep the leaves dry. Okay, the number one bug we worry about with cucumbers are cucumber beetles. There's spotted ones and striped ones, and they eat the leaves and they spread bacterial diseases. And it occurs on squash too. It's bacterial wilt. This is a killer. It plugs up the flow of water in the plant. The bacteria does. The plant just wilts away. So you got to kill those cucumber beetles as soon as you see them. Okay, so in North Dakota, we take our gardening seriously. We protect our crops, and so you can kill cucumber beetles with synthetic chemicals like 7 or 8. They kill nearly on contact. Bye-bye beetle. But these are very powerful, and they will kill bees too. So especially if the plants are blooming, you can only spray when the bees are not in the planting, and that's in the evening. Okay, you got to spray in the evening. But I like to take care of the beetles early, preferably even before the blooms occur. And usually one spray will take care of the beetles. I got the problem solved. If you want to use natural insecticides, we got natural insecticides too that are generally safer for us and safer for bees. Pyrethrin. Pyrethrin is a chemical that will kill, and pyganic is a common trade name of that, that will paralyze the bug nearly instantly. So there you go. If it's paralyzed, it can't do any more damage. So some people like to inflict pain on their pest immediately. Some people like their bugs to suffer. And so that's why spinosad would be good for people who want their enemies to suffer for a couple days before they die. So you spray spinosad in the evening, and what happens is the cucumber beetle will start going to spasms, and it will shake and shiver for 2 days before it paralyzed and died. So that's a great way to torture a beetle. And spinosad will not harm bees if you spray it in the evening hours. Neem is another interesting way to torture beetles. Neem is very safe. It's harmless to bees. But the beetles, they'll eat the neem, and then this will cause them to lose their appetite. And then also they won't physically mature anymore. So they just become lifeless and won't reproduce. They won't eat. They'll just slowly die a decrepit life. So they've got a lot of choices here. What kind of person are you? Do you like to kill, watch them drop in front of your eyes?
I don't use a lot of insecticide at all.
You just don't care about
just
it.
like,
you just don't.
Hey,
oh, really?
let nature be, right?
Just share it. Wait, we got it. But listen, Kelsey. Okay.
I'm not. See, that's the thing. I'm not a large-scale gardener.
Yeah, 3
and
acres. Cucumbers, man. I can't.
You can't risk that.
I can't
You're
risk
selling
that,
it.
Yeah, that's my
that's your
childhood
life.
education. You know, that's how I paid for college. So I mean, personally, well, one shot. That's why you scout your garden, kill them early, devastate them, and that's the end of them. There you go. It feels good. The other predator you have to worry about sometimes is wildlife, like bunny rabbits can sometimes cause problems. So
I've been noticing a lot of those outside my office window.
You got to take care of them now.
Now, huh? Before Easter?
Yeah, that's right. Don't worry about it. Easter Bunny's active in the chocolate factory right now, so that's not outside your window.
You're not hitting him.
Don't worry about that. But what's happening, like those mother rabbits,
Yeah.
they have bunnies.
Often and frequently.
That's right. I think it's like 6 litters a year, 6 at a time. That's a lot of bunnies.
It's a lot.
So the key is you got to get them now before they start getting active, if you know what I'm talking about. So like live trapping could be a good way to go.
Unless you live out of town.
Well, then you just, if you live out of town, or then you just, okay, well, what's the best way to kill any pest or manage any pest? You know.
Lead.
Kill them. There you go. I'm hunting wabbits. That's what Elmer Fudd would say. But,
He wasn't a good hunter, though.
huh?
He wasn't a good hunter.
Well, I know, but he no comment. I'm not judging. I'm not a good hunter either. So I'm trying to make something funny. Okay, just trying to make a joke about this. You want me to show a rabbit with a head bursting
No.
open full of blood?
It's a family show.
That's right. So we're talking to Elmer Fudd. So, but this is the whole way to manage a pest. Best days kill it, but it's not practical in many cases to kill it. So that's why we use exclusion, the second best way. A fence, like a 4-foot tall fence buried 6 inches of the ground, that will solve your problem. So exclusion's a great way.
Or dogs.
Dogs will work too.
Yeah, dogs work.
Oh yeah, my neighbor's dogs would be great for that.
Look at that sad little bunny.
You know what? I don't care
Just
about that
hungry.
bunny. The bunny looks sad, but actually the bunny is evil. That bunny is plotting his next trek. How can I get in to destroy Tom's cucumber patch? So I show no mercy to that guy. I will scoot him away, or if I had a dog, I would definitely sick the dog on that sucker. Okay, last thing to say is that, again, I encourage you to try the different types of cucumbers. Go to our website, ndsu.ag/home garden trials, and you can find our catalog. So that's what I got.
That catalog's going to be available very soon, right?
You know what? I just can't wait till I get out of this studio so I can just get everything
Well, if
prepared.
that's the cover, I like the photo you chose this year.
That's it.
That's the cover. It's
That's right.
beautiful.
'Cause we
Nice
got-
zinnia.
Yeah,
And
we got zinnias and sunflowers
And a hummingbird.
50 different trials we've got going on. So,
have you ever seen a hummingbird
Yeah.
in real life? Yeah.
yeah, because in Minnesota, they're very common.
Okay, so you've seen them in Minnesota, not
Yeah.
since your
They're,
time here?
they're not very common here, the ruby-throated hummingbird. It kind of, along the Missouri River, it's more common.
One time, and I got a picture of it, but when I was doing a youth garden over in Wing, so this was like 10 plus years ago already, but they came in and same thing on a zinnia. It was like,
Oh, yeah.
when
It's
you
a-
see them and you see those wings going as fast as can be, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
They got
It's
a
pretty cool.
huge heartbeat rate, and I don't know, they flutter their wings 100 times.
Yeah.
It's just like unbelievable speed. Was it 100 times a minute? 100 times?
Is that what it is?
It's really amazing fast to hover around like they do.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you gotta. They love open flowers like that, or you can put up a hummingbird feeder. We had a hummingbird feeder on our farm that we would mix like a sugar solution, and those hummingbirds would go nuts for that. They would just encircle my mom as she's filling up that feeder. They would just love that stuff.
They're like the cats on the porch.
Yeah, yeah. It's quite a marvel. You got that right.
Well, speaking of pollinators, I'm going to talk about creating a butterfly garden today. How about that?
Ones that attract butterflies.
Yeah, how to
I
garden for
love butterflies.
pollinators, but today I'm just going to specifically focus on butterflies. So, why do we want to create a butterfly garden?
Oh, I don't know. Who cares? I'd rather
you want
watch
those
TV.
cucumbers,
Oh,
right?
Okay,
Don't
I'm
you?
just kidding. Why butterflies? Because butterflies are so beautiful because
They
their
are.
their wings are so fragile, and when they flutter around, it's just marvelous to see them. And some butterflies are very colorful, like the monarchs and the swallowtails. And I guess they do pollination, so I guess
Yeah, they're huge pollinators.
They help with pollination.
I think it's great because then it gives, like, when you're working with youth and kids, they're always, don't you ever see, like, people,
like that,
younger
huh?
kids, yeah, if you talk about insects with them, they always are like, oh, I love butterflies, I remember
Yeah.
growing up having little nets, little bug
Oh,
nets to go
really?
catch, yeah. We didn't have a garden.
Destroy them.
Yeah. Put them in a jar. See if they could.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then did you like put some rubbing alcohol in
No.
to kill them?
Oh,
That's what I did.
no.
Now,
And then what do you do with
butterflies.
them?
Okay, first thing.
Insect collection?
Yeah, for insect collections. Yeah, you gotta get a bug. You catch it, and then you gotta kill it
Yeah.
to like use
You
for your
suffocate
collection. So you get one of those cotton balls. You soak with rubbing alcohol.
Just drop it in.
Drop it in there, and then it's like a torture chamber. Kind of
I
just.
think people are starting to see a theme with you
Right.
on the torturing.
Or then what you do, you say, okay, like you ever seen those books like Python versus Mongoose?
No.
Oh, you're going to get to know those books pretty soon. So like they say, what happens? Who would win a contest between a python and
okay.
a mongoose?
Yeah.
It's a whole book about it, and they describe how it would. Well, that's what you do with insects. You say, who's going to win, an ant or a fly? And you put them in the glass jar together, and you see which one survives. You see them attack each other.
Oh, you got a little fight club
There's a little
going
fight
on.
club going on there for a while. And if they don't want to fight, then you just kill it. You put some rubbing alcohol in
You
and
say,
kill
well,
them
that's
both.
no fun.
That's right, exactly.
Jeez. So that's what you were doing when you weren't picking vegetables. Mini fight
That's
club.
right. Yeah, it was my teacher made it. It was part of collections, insect collections.
Yeah. Okay, we'll jump back
Wow.
on what creating a butterfly garden. So,
Yeah, they would lose.
yeah.
Butterfly would lose the competition.
I'd
You
imagine.
know that? Against a honeybee or something.
Yeah.
I would take the honeybee.
Would you?
Yeah, in a cage match.
Well, the one thing about today and creating any type of pollinator garden, not just a butterfly garden, is there's a lot of concern. So, like you look at this picture, how do you feel looking at this picture?
Looks like a great yard.
Looks like a great yard. I'd agree.
I know what you're saying though.
Yeah.
It's not doesn't have the pollen. It's a food desert for butterflies. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I'm saying it's way too manicured with
Well,
no weeds.
I've never had that problem.
No. Yeah, me neither. But again, I don't care.
That's
Green
right.
is green for me.
That's right.
Whatever. So, but no, a lot of people would be like envious of this house in this neighborhood. They would probably be the top neighbor, but
Really?
this is exactly what we see today for creating those butterfly gardens and pollinator gardens, is especially in town. We have a lot of people who strive for, the talk of the neighborhood lawn. They want that manicured lawn. A lot of people just aren't, like you said, planting for food for them.
Yeah.
So, what do you need in order to create a butterfly garden? You need a variety of plants and flowers that bloom spring, summer, and fall. So, during our growing season, they got to have that food. They got to have, something to, in the next season, have. So, not anything that just blooms and is done. Doesn't matter the size or shape of the garden. That doesn't matter. Even if it's a little patch that you're implementing in your yard, that can still be a butterfly garden. Big thing is you want to plant those flowers in clusters. Again, that's just going to be more attractive to the butterflies and stuff. Again, I'm not an entomologist, but from what I've learned over the years and stuff, they see those block colors, and that's going to be more attractive. And then if you have that same species, they can forage in that area for a while. They also are going to need a place to rest, so adding mulch within a pollinator garden. Even some of those flat top flowers are going to be great. And then lastly, you need to have a water source. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our flowers and which ones would be great for the different times for blooming. So to start off in the spring, I know we've talked about it. To me, the first sign of spring is when I see crocuses out there. That's my first sign.
That's
so
beautiful.
crocus is great. I got pictures of each of these. Grape hyacinth, Siberian squill, American pasqueflower, prairie smoke, and red columbine. Those are all great blooming spring flowers. I also like prairie smoke. To me is one of the most beautiful natural plants. We get those out on our pasture and stuff, so I always enjoy being able to see them. And there's
it's
always
special.
a light breeze, so it's fun to see them just kind of wave in there.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, then if we kind of move into a later springtime, right before we get to summer, some of those perennials could be a golden Alexander, butterfly weed, which I talked about last time with it being the year of milkweeds, false indigo, catmint, and salvia. So again, these are perennials that are going to be coming back. Got some good variety of colors there as well. When we move into summer, you could look for something like a purple prairie clover. Another milkweed would be swamp milkweed, black-eyed Susan, prairie blazing star, purple coneflower, and bee balm. You got any of those in your yard?
No, I'm not. Just not. I'm like that desert garden.
Yeah, that's you.
That's me.
That's you.
Not really. No, but those I've had black-eyed Susan and blazing star and purple coneflower and bee balm. I've planted them before.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all beautiful, colorful, have pretty long bloom times.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Again, most of these too are going to be native to North Dakota, so
Yeah.
just that natural environment for them is going to be great. Continuing some of the summer ones, you could look at, I'm going to butcher saying that, anise, hyssop, Culver's root, Joe Pieweed. I know that one, like growing up when I worked at a local nursery, that was always famous in a lot of the landscaping. Joe Pieweed was good. Fireworks goldenrod, and then meadow blazing star. So again, a lot of these are going to look very even like grasses and very columnar for them. So good choices. When we move into the fall, stiff goldenrod, sneezeweed, tall sedum, and New England aster. Those are going to be some of your later ones that will keep them around. So I think there's nothing better to see than sedum in the fall. That is just outstanding. It always puts on a good show, and that's a low maintenance plant.
Yeah, I can take the drought.
You bet. You bet. So what can we do for water? You talk about a potential of drought. Usually for us who live out of town, when we hear drought, seems like the livestock waters are full of bees.
They're thirsty.
They're thirsty. And they die because they can't get a drink out of those water tanks.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah. There's nowhere for them to stand.
Well, why don't you give them a stand? A perch.
You can.
A bee perch.
Yeah. I also don't want my livestock getting stung up or anything like that. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. Definitely a problem.
No,
but
that is a conflict. Because
Yeah.
there's so many pollinators, but you don't want them to harm your livestock.
no, that's why I'd put the pollinator garden up
Far
towards.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you need some sort of water source. So bird baths are going to work great.
Yeah.
If you have a higher budget, ponds, installing one of those can be costly, but another good source. Biggest thing is anything you can fill with water, but you just got to make sure to add rocks, something they can stand on while they drink, not where they're just going to jump in and drown.
Yeah.
So I always get the question of like where are good places to go, especially locally and stuff. So just across the river, Agassiz seed is going to be a really good one. They have a wildflower mix that's going to contain a lot of our North Dakota natives, so that'd be a really good one. I know we've mentioned Prairie Road Organic Seed. That's another North Dakota-based seed resource. There's Minnesota Native Plant Source, and you can order off of them. And then even Burleigh County Soil Conservation District does now sell some pollinator plugs. So just locally, of course, you can check out any of the local nurseries. A lot of them are going to contain some of those perennials especially.
Yeah. Depends how much money you got. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Like Prairie Nursery is outstanding out of Wisconsin. Prairie Moon Nursery out of Winona, Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, we've talked about those in the past, too.
They're great. But you just got to, if possible, try to buy something from a northern source.
Yeah. Yep. They're going to have those plants that are going to be hardy for up here. The other thing is you want to be able to make sure that you're creating shelter in there. So one thing it would be like incorporating like any type of bushes or shrubs that's going to help with the wind. At the end of the season, you don't want to just go and clean out that plant debris. You want to leave that. That's going to be a good shelter for overwintering. And so, like right now, too, you don't need to get in there and get crazy happy to clean out because the weather's being nice. You kind of want to wait till, those temperatures are consistently at like 50 degrees, or you start to see insect activity is going to be a good way. So, some of the butterflies that we have out there, we have skippers, and so that's one category. They're going to be those small orange. They kind of look like just little triangles on flowers. There's at least 42 species in North Dakota. You talked about swallowtails. I think those are one of the most beautiful butterflies out there. They're going to be really large. They're going to have that blue band and row of spots on the hind wings for the female. And then the male is going to have a black band on them. Sulfurs and whites, they're going to be white or yellow in color, have that velvety appearance. There's at least 14 species in North Dakota of those. Gossamer wings, those are going to be small to medium size. They're going to have like hair-like tails on their hind wing. Got 29 species in North Dakota. And then brush-footed are broken into 7 smaller categories that I'll show in the next couple slides, and there's at least 54 species in North Dakota. So we have a lot of butterfly species. Here's kind of the different categories that you can see. Again, you have a favorite, or when you were doing your insect collection, did you collect out of any of these?
Well, monarchs were everywhere, so.
That's usually people's top favorite, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like a lot of these too, just seeing like, especially the checkered spots and crescents, you actually get kind of that checkered appearance, which is really cool to see. And the tortoiseshell to me always stands out too a little bit more. You mentioned monarch, so those are going to fall under our milkweed butterflies in that category, but we do have thistle butterflies, admirals, and then satires as well. So a lot of different ones, a lot of different species that are active in North Dakota. So I feel like the biggest thing that we talk about is monarchs. Why is that, Tom? Why are we talking about the monarchs?
Why? Because they're so showy.
They're so showy. They're
like
so
the
beautiful.
movie star, so they're nothing that. But also, you gotta just, even though they're beautiful, they do have an amazing life story.
We're going to talk about that.
Okay, let's
go. But you can share what you know, too.
No,
I think they are probably most talked about just because in news media in the last few years, they've gained a lot of traction. In like 2020, they were put on the endangered list, but U.S. Wildlife, Game and Fish, whatever you want to say, has just moved them to a threatened species in today.
So that means their populations are
dwindling.
Oh, worse? They're worse?
Well, they've gotten better, sorry. But to
Okay.
be threatened, you're on a dwindling species. But yes, they've gotten better. I feel like people talk about the monarch movement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's so showy. They just people like it.
They do. And I briefly talked about this last time again, but they are a species that rely solely on milkweed for survival. The females are going to lay their eggs on that milkweed. The caterpillars are going to be hungry, and just go eat. And then that milkweed is going to contain that sap that has toxins in it that is going to keep the prey away. So if you are very into monarchs, get some milkweed established, and hopefully you can
because that's all they eat.
Yeah. Love it.
It's like my Kevin, all he eats is pizza. He would die without pizza. And monarchs would die without milkweed. Just the way it is.
That is right. So I like to show this map of the migration, and what I think is very fascinating to me is that in the fall, one generation can make it all the way down to Mexico, which is like 2,500 miles. And they say that like it is in their DNA that where their great grandparents, they come back to the same village every year. And then in the springtime, so like right now, they would be starting to already make their way up north. It takes about 4 to 6 generations in the spring to get up in these northern areas. So pretty interesting that those generations live so much shorter, but then our generation in the fall can make that whole trick down.
Yeah, they just get in the air currents.
Yeah.
And they can fly like over 20 miles a day.
Yeah, average about 25 to 30.
And the ones in North Dakota, they're at the extreme as far as their trek. Look how far that is compared to other places. It's a long trek they got it there.
You ever been to Mexico?
Let's see here.
I'd be surprised if you haven't.
I've been to Texas. That's the closest.
Oh,
and
wow.
I've been to Nicaragua
Okay, so further.
a couple times, and Honduras, but I never made it to Mexico.
Interesting.
I don't know why.
You seem like you, as much as the world travels.
Well, that's because
Mexico.
nobody from Mexico is asking me how to do anything, so I can't
just got
volunteer.
Yeah.
Nobody needs my help in Mexico.
Yeah.
Or I don't know what they grow there. So, anyhow, or tequila, is that what they grow there? No, tequila farmer asked for my help, so.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a long.
I don't want to go there. Now, forget about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, man, I don't need South
people-
America, man. No.
Stay away.
No, I don't want to be
Stay away.
ransom.
That's right.
Because my wife would say, keep them.
Yeah,
I ain't paying you
Okay.
a nickel for my husband.
that's right. Okay.
So, I'm not going there.
Yeah. Well, I think, like I said, it is interesting, and to me, reading more and more about monarchs are always kind of fascinating, just to hear that, especially that journey they make.
Yeah,
in
it's
the
amazing
fall.
that they go to the same village. How
Right.
the heck? And when you think about all the winds and everything on that long trek, but they still naturally drawn to the same village.
And then I think of my
Gener-
family
yeah,
members who are
yeah.
directionally challenged. They would never make it.
Oh, yeah, man, I get lost out of the driveway
There
sometimes.
you
So,
go.
yeah, there's no way. But
Yeah.
it's amazing. Nature's amazing.
Yeah, and I would say if you, like this summer, if you really want to see an abundance of monarchs and butterflies, the zoo has some great gardens to go see those in the later summertime when they're up here and active. Very cool. So just a few tips for creating that butterfly garden. You want to find kind of a sheltered area, but a sunny area. Like I said, you can create some shelter. You can also add in butterfly feeders out there, kind of like we talked about for hummingbirds. Avoid insecticides. You talked about that too for the cucumbers and what they could do for bees. Make sure to incorporate some annuals. Zinnias are going to be very popular for them, and as are cosmos. And then also don't forget about like our ornamental grasses and grasses, again, native grasses. So like Indian grass, little and big blue stem, switchgrass is going to be good, and even side oats, gamma is going to be really good as well. So think about those. There are a ton of additional resources out there. I know on our website we have a whole section dedicated to pollinators. The Xerces Society is really good, and even North Dakota Game and Fish has a lot of resources. So with that, I just got a lot of photo credits today, but that's all I got.
Well, that's a lot.
That's a lot. Maybe something to think about this spring if you're looking at a way to expand your garden or try something new.
Put in a pollinator garden.
Put in a pollinator garden. Get an abundance of veggies.
Yep. Give them their flowers all growing season. And I like the sheltered area. I like to get, I think it's nice to have like a dark rock or something that they can just
Cool off.
opposite. They want to
Warm up.
warm up. They just, what do you call it when you soak in sun? That's because
Tanning. Just kidding. Just kidding.
it's basking.
Basking, yes.
Because, they're not warm-blooded. How does the monarch get the energy to fly? It's
Have
got to
to
get some
have
heat.
heat,
So it just
generate heat.
it's just lays on that rock and just absorbs the heat. And like
like solar power, huh?
Exactly, it's true.
Yeah.
And also the other things that sometimes it helps to get like a muddy patch.
Yes,
You hear about that?
I have. Yep.
So like puddling, they like a puddle so that they get their water and their minerals. Just
Yeah.
like your livestock need minerals.
Yep.
And they need minerals too. So there's a lot of once you get those websites, you covered everything. You got everybody now inspired. So now let's go to those websites and get some details.
Well, and if I didn't, our Spring Fever Forum this last Monday, we had our pollinator technician give a whole talk.
That's right. We've got
Got a nice
talks
recording
on-
of it.
Yep, on the North Dakota Spring Fever Garden forums, and so everybody's welcome to join those, and also the recordings. And we'll be talking about moths in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Night flying moths, in case you like to go outside and watch moths at night.
Not really, no.
Yeah, mosquitoes. No,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
No. You got anything else today?
I got nothing to say. It was good.
How about we want to invite everybody to the Dakota Garden Expo next month?
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
April 25, 26th.
Free admission.
At Bismarck Event Center. Got 20 workshops and like 100 vendors,
It's going to be great.
like over 7,000 people, 7,500 we had last year. Biggest event in the Dakotas for gardeners.
Yeah.
So
And I know we can't trust the weather, but the extended weather for April says above average temperatures. So,
now listen,
knock on
what are
wood,
you
it's a
talking
great
about?
day. Great day to come
April
out to the
25th,
expo.
26th? Are you worried
You've
about
never
snow?
looked at that? Oh, the one
What are
year
you
we
worried
did.
about?
The 1 year we did have snow.
but this we got it at a better time now. We got like later, so there's no frost. We're not gonna have anywhere. It's gonna be perfect weather.
Exactly.
That's
Come
what
out.
we got
Check
our
it out.
act together. And working with that Town Square Media and Dakota Media Access, and we got our act together. We know what we're doing. After you do things about 10 times, you finally get it right. So
That's right.
yeah, it's a grand show. Got a lot of great programs going on.
A lot of variety of topics for presentations over those 2 days, along with a variety of different people speaking, master gardeners, agents,
Yeah.
all specialists.
Yeah.
It'll be great. So, yes, we hope to see you April 25th and 26th at the Bismarck Event Center. And with that, I just want to thank everybody for joining us on today's episode of Dakota Growing.
Dakota Growing is a gardening show brought to you by Dakota Media Access and NDSU Extension. We discuss a variety of timely topics pertaining to your landscape, along with giving you tips and advice for your lawn, garden, and trees. If you have questions, call 701-221-6865 or email ndsu.burley.extension@ndsu.com. Dakota Growing airs on Radio Access 102.5 FM, Community Access Channel 12 or 612 HD, or online at freetv.org.